Hey, what's up YouTube? In this video, I'll be showing you how to make my quartz house number 13, the unlucky number. If you want to make it, here's what you're going to need. You'll need some block of quartz and some spruce wood planks. Also, grab yourself some glass pane, and finally, grab yourself some glass block. If you also want to do the interior and the exterior, you'll of course probably need some more things, like some creeper heads, some signs, some redstone lamps, stuff like that, but really, all you need to make the house is those four materials that we have right there. So once you have each one of these, and once you've figured out where you want to make it, I'll be making it right here, you're going to want to kick off your house with a row of 5 block of quartz coming directly up from the floor. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just like that. Once you have your row of 5 block of quartz, you then want to take this top block, this 5th block, and go right of it by 6. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then connect the 6th block to the ground, just like that, to give you an archway shape. Once you've formed your archway shape, this is what you want to do next. So take each one of the top 2 corners of your archway, lefty and righty, and extend them, coming towards you each by 6. So this corner first, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then the right hand corner, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then connect each one of those 6 blocks together, and then connect each one of those 6 blocks to the ground, like this, to form this shape. Kind of always reminds me of like a table or something, or kind of like a chair without the back on it. Once you've reached this point right here, this is what you want to do next. So now that we have our table shape, we now want to go on top of each one of the 4 corners of our table shape, and we want to go on top of each one of the 4 corners, each by 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and finally 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you just want to connect each one of those 4th blocks together, just going all the way around in a nice square shape, like this. So now we kind of have like a big giant 3D A shape. We're not done. Once you've reached this point right here, you now want to do the exact same thing on top of your A shape. So coming to the top of this now, on top of each one of the 4 corners, stack 4 more rows of 4. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and finally 1, 2, 3, 4, and then just connect each one of those 4th blocks together, just as you're used to doing. And what we want to end up with is something that should look, if I can get it right myself, that should look a little bit like this. Now, the way that I've designed this, we can now kind of make the house in any sort of shape that you want. Like, for instance, once you've reached this point right here, you could now make this side of your house the front side of your house, or you could come to this side, and this side could be your front. So the first thing that you really have to do is decide which side of your tower you want to be the front of your house first of all. I've already made my decision. This side is going to be the front of my house. So once you've figured that out for yourself, this is what you want to do next. So come to the front side of your house again. This one's mine, I've kind of marked it out with a quartz. As a matter of fact, I might have to place that a little further back. Once you've figured that out, come to the front side of your house, and starting with like the bottom archway shape that we have at the bottom of the house, you kind of just want to extend the bottom archway from the 2 corners out in front of your house, each by 6. So take each one of these 2 corners, extend them out in front of the house by 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then connect each one of those 6 blocks together, and then connect each one of those 6 blocks to the ground, like that. And once you've done that once, you actually want to do the exact same thing again with the little extension that you've made. So now take these 2 corners and extend them out further by 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then connect each one of those 2 6 blocks together, and then connect each one of those 2 6 blocks to the ground. So you want to end up with this shape. Once you've done that to the ground floor, you want to do the same thing to the second floor. Well, not exactly the same thing, we only want to do the first extension. So coming up to the second floor now, we're still on the front, take this second archway, this middle archway, extend it out in front of the house by 6. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and of course, connect each one of those 6 blocks together, and also connect them to the bottom part of the house. So you want to end up with something that should look, and it might be easier to show you guys a side view, with something that should look a little bit like this. It's kind of like a staircase. So once you've finished adding all of that to the front of your house, the next step for us is to do the exact same thing on the left hand side of the house, or if you like, you could do it on the right hand side of your house, or even the back. It's kind of up to you, that's the whole point of these houses. However, it's designed to be on the left hand side, so if that's the front, this is the left. And we are doing the exact same thing, so starting with this base archway, we've first got to extend this out by 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and of course just connect each one of these 6 blocks together and also connect them to the ground, like that. Once you've done that once, we now want to do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then of course connect them together and connect it to the ground, just like that. And once you've done that to the ground floor, we now want to come all the way up to the second floor and take these 2 corner blocks and extend them out by 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then connect them together and then connect them to the previous part of the house. And what you want to end up with from this view is something that should look a little bit like this. Once you've reached this point right here, we have one last thing to do with the actual framework of the house, and then we can move on to the details. So, once you've reached this point right here, you now kind of want to come to like the inside corner of the house, kind of in between the front of the house and the left hand side of the house. And what you want to do is you want to like take this corner, for instance, this corner block, and you kind of just want to like extend it coming out in front of the house, and you want to connect it to the front of the house like this. If you guys can see what I've done there, I can't really explain it in any better way, but I think it should be fairly obvious what you want to do. You kind of want to make kind of like just a corner shape like this, kind of like a balcony. And then you want to take this corner block, this outward block, and connect it to the ground to form this shape. So you've kind of just added another little section, another little quadrant onto the house, like this. And once you've got that taken care of, you have actually 100% fully completed the framework of the house. All we have to do now, once you've reached this point right here, is add in a few bits of detail here and about the house. So, once you have reached this point right here, once you have this is what you want to do next. So come all the way to the ground floor of your house. Take out your block of quartz, and what you basically want to do is you want to trace along the outside of your house, and you want to connect each one of these ground floor, these bottom blocks of quartz together, just tracing along the outside of the bottom of your house, just connecting each one of these quartz blocks together. So what you want to end up with is something that should look a little bit like this, and you just want to go all the way around the house, just doing that, connecting each one of those ground floor blocks together. Simple enough, right? Good. Once you've got that taken care of, this is what you want to do next. So we're now going to fill in the entire second floor of the house, then we're going to fill in the entire third floor. This is how I'm going to do it. So these outward parts of the second floor that aren't really covered by anything, that could be used as balconies if you wanted them to be, I'm going to fill these in with spruce wood planks. And the inside of the second floor, the inside portions of the second floor, I'm going to fill those parts in with quartz. Of course, you can substitute your own materials if you like. You could fill the entire second floor in with spruce wood planks if you wanted to. You could use quartz, you could use lapis lazuli, you could use emerald, you could use whatever you liked. As a matter of fact, something that I've often thought about and I've just never executed on for whatever reason, I think that it'd look really cool if you built a house out of quartz and black stained clay. I think that would look really cool. And as a matter of fact, you could probably just substitute the spruce wood planks for black stained clay and just make this house, and it'd probably look really nice. Just a guess. I bet it would. I don't see why it wouldn't. It's a really cool looking material, and I mean, it's really dark, and it's very similar to the planks, except it's just a little bit smoother and a little bit darker. I've got to try it for myself at some point, but we've just about finished filling in the floors. We've done the second floor, where most of the way through the third floor we've just got the little inside section to do, and once all of these floors are filled in, we're actually moving on to the main bulk of the details. So what you want to end up with is something that should look a little bit like this. So those are the second and the third floors completely filled in, and as I said, for myself, I wanted the inside parts to be quartz and the outward parts to be spruce wood planks. I've made quite a few of these houses, I know what I like, but you guys can do whatever you like. So once you've got all of that taken care of, this is what you want to do next. We actually have to make the entrance to the house. I meant to do this earlier, I kind of forgot about it. So come all the way to the front of your house, where we have this most outward quadrant of quartz. What you basically want to do is knock out the bottom middle block of the framework, build up the 2 blocks left and right of the block that you just knocked out by 2, and then connect them together at the top, and you will form this shape, a nice little entrance. Once you've got that taken care of, we now have to apply all of the details around the house. So, the way that I'm going to do this, it's kind of really difficult to put into words what you actually have to do, so I'm just going to do it, and then I'm going to show you guys what it should look like. It's really easy to see what you have to do, but it's difficult to explain. I find myself in these situations a lot. I'm sure that if you guys have watched my house tutorials before, you won't be surprised at this method of tutorialing. But if you have made one of these houses before, I've made probably about 4 or 5 houses that kind of follow this similar sort of pattern. You guys will know what you have to do in this situation. So, what you want to do with your spruce wood planks is you basically just want to trace along the inside of the house, and you just want to trace along the inside of the house just like 1 block above and 1 block inward in relation to the bottom floor framework of the house, like this, with your spruce wood planks. It's pretty simple actually, but again, it's kind of difficult to put into words, but it's really easy to see what you actually have to do. So once you've done that for yourself to the bottom of the house, you kind of want to do the exact same thing, just like 2 rows above where you've just done it. You kind of want to do the same thing, just like 1 block below the top of the ground floor framework, if you guys can see what I'm doing here. And it's kind of difficult to kind of explain what I'm doing and do this at the same time. I'm kind of bumping into things. It's actually a little cramped down here, but I'm pretty sure that you guys will be able to see what you have to do once I've done this, for those of you that haven't made a house like this before. But again, like I said, if you've made one of these types of houses before, I'm sure that you guys will have no problem, and you'll know what's coming next. So, what you then want to do, once you've got that first layer of spruce wood planks taken care of, you want to do the exact same thing, again, just 2 rows above, just 1 block below the actual top of the ground floor framework, and just 2 blocks above where we just did it. And I'm sure that you guys can see what you have to do and where you have to do it. The only thing that might get a little tricky is around the entrance here. Around the entrance, you kind of just want to connect the 2 rows together, kind of like top block to bottom block here, just like sides of the entrance, and you kind of just want to fill in this top row here, if you guys can see what I'm talking about, around the entrance there. You just want to completely fill that in with spruce wood planks. But once you've done this to the ground floor of the house, once you've got that taken care of, you now want to do the exact same thing to both the second and the third floors. You want to do literally the exact same thing. We're just following the exact same procedure. We're just tracing along the top of the framework. Now, this is why we actually filled in the second and the third floors, just to make these parts a little bit easier, just to make them a little bit easier to place. That's the first layer taken care of. I'm going to move straight on to the second layer since I've already explained what you guys have to do. Again, it's the exact same thing, it's just on a little bit of a smaller scale. So I'm just going to continue doing this, and I'll actually have to break my way out here, because the way that I'm building the house right now, it's not going to have any entrances onto the balcony. So what you want to end up with for the second floor, again, it's the exact same thing that you did on the ground floor, except it's on a much smaller scale. Just going all the way around, just filling all of that in with spruce wood blanks, just leaving that center row just completely empty. And again, you want to do the exact same thing all the way at the top here. So with your spruce wood planks, you just want to do a nice little square of spruce wood here, and you want to do the same thing just 2 rows above. So just set in nicely inside the framework, just leaving 1 block space between the 2 layers. You want to end up with something that should look a little bit like this. Easy enough, right? I hope so. Once you've got all of that spruce wood placed, we now have the fun of filling in the space in between the 2 layers of spruce wood with glass panes. So I'm now just going to fill in all of the area that we have left in between the 2 layers of spruce wood with glass panes. So this is going to be fun, isn't it? It's not going to be fun whatsoever. The ground floor is actually really easy to do, but when we get up to the second floor, it's going to get a little bit cramped for us. So that's the ground floor taken care of. As you can see, nothing difficult about that, just glass pane sandwiched in between. Got to make an entrance here. Let's make one here, it doesn't really matter, so we'll just fill this in with glass pane. Right here, just going all the way around, and once we've got the second floor taken care of, we will just have to do the exact same thing up on the third floor. So there, and that's the second floor taken care of, exact same thing as the ground floor. Moving on to the top here, which is actually really easy because we can just move all the way around here. We don't actually have to get inside of the house or anything crazy like that. So what you want to end up with is something that should look a little bit like this. Now, this is technically the entire house fully completed. However, you do have a couple of options with this house. Once you've got all of these details added, you do have a couple of choices to make. Would you like this house to kind of just be a house that you have on display like this, just to look at? Or would you like it to be functional? I personally like it like this. Of course, there's a garden that has to be added, some hedging and stuff, a pool to make it look a little bit nicer. But as a base, do you want it to look like this, or do you want it to look a little bit more functional? Well, what you could do, if you want to actually use the house in some sort of capacity, is you could add yourself some balconies around the house. So, if you actually want to use these things as balconies, these outward parts of the house, you may want to add some glass pane around the edges of these little outward quadrants like this, and you may want to add some entrances onto said balcony. So you may just want to knock out those 2 middle blocks there just to make some entrances, and you may just want to do that all the way around the house. So just to give you guys a for instance, you might kind of want to turn the house into something that looks a little bit closer to this. Personally, I don't like the house like this. I like it how it just was. I like the house kind of just kind of like a display house. I wouldn't actually want to use it. It's a little bit small, and I don't like the glass pane around there, and I don't like the fact that there's now holes in the house essentially. But if you wanted to, you could also do the exact same thing to this upper part of the house as well. You might want to add some glass pane around these balconies, or you might not. You might not want to do that. You might just want to add the entrances, or you might not want to add the entrances at all. You might just want to just put the glass pane around there just for the fun of it. But if you wanted to make the house a little bit more functional, you might want to make it look a little bit closer to this. But again, I don't like this personally, but you might. It's kind of up to you. Once you've reached this point right here in your house, you really just have to make the decision. So what I'm now going to do, since I've shown you guys either way you can have the house, you can have it more functional, or you could have it just more for display. I'm now going to whisk away. I'm going to apply everything that I need to apply to the outside and the inside of the house, which is a little boring to watch, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you guys what this house could look like with a very, very small amount of time investment. So I'm going to be back in just a second. The tutorial portion of this is over, however. I'm not actually going to tutorial these next few parts. I'm just going to show you what it can look like. Alright guys, so as you can see, I have finished messing about with the inside and the outside of the house. A little bit of work goes a long way. Let's look at the interior before we move outside. So, let's come all the way to the inside of the house. First few notable things. There's not too much going on with the inside, but I may as well mention them anyway. Ripped up the floor, replaced it with spruce wood planks. The reason that I chose spruce wood planks over quartz is because I knew that I wanted the inside of the house and the outside of the house to use the same material. So, I decided to use spruce wood planks on the outside, otherwise I would usually use quartz. Staircase 1 is here. You can have it in quite a few different positions if you wanted to. You could have it coming from like this little corner, this little center part here. You could have it coming up if you wanted to get a little crazy with that, but I decided to have it in this nice easy place. The only issue with actually having it come up from here, kind of having it come up from this direction and coming up into the second floor, is that you'd have to knock out some blocks kind of like underneath this spruce wood. That's the only issue. So planted the staircase there. It could have equally also went, you know, in the center there, or it could have even went near the entrance, but I decided to place it here. Second floor, not so much room, especially considering the fact that we have another staircase up here, but these houses aren't really meant to be used exactly as survival houses. They're really more just to look at. They're nice looking. So the second floor, not too much going on. Staircases in this position. Again, kind of limited options with the staircase. I mean, if these stairs weren't here, then these stairs would have to come up from this position. Like, there's really not too much of a choice, unless of course you wanted the staircases to come onto the balconies, which is your choice. And this third floor here, which is really just kind of like a nice little watchtower. There's not too much going on. And again, the reason that you're kind of limited with the staircase is because you've got to knock out blocks and stuff. Like, you've really got a limited option, but it's kind of cool, and obviously you'd have a lot more room if you wanted to knock out onto the balconies, but I prefer this look. I prefer no glass, no entrances or what have you. I kind of like the house looking all nice and tidy, but the ground floor of the house, there's actually quite a bit of room. There's quite a bit going on. Second floor, not so much. Third floor, absolutely none, but pretty cool anyway, pretty cool. Decent amount of space on the ground floor, it kind of makes up for it. Moving on to the outside of the house now. So, for the outside of the house, the first thing that I did was dig out a pool. I think it's pretty obvious how I did that, how we have this arrow-shaped pool here. So, obviously, we're just connecting the left-hand side of the house all the way over to the right-hand side of the house, just like that. It just kind of forms like a corner of the house. Dug that out, actually replaced the ground underneath it with spruce wood planks, also replaced underneath the house with quartz, and then I just filled it with water, obviously. I then dug an area of 3 all the way around the house, replaced the first 2 areas, the first 2 blocks, the first 2 rows with spruce wood planks, replaced the third with black stained clay. That is what's sitting underneath this hedge, and then I obviously placed a hedge on top, and that is what I did to the outside. It really doesn't take a massive amount of time whatsoever, especially if you're on creative. If you're on survival, that's a different story. Everything takes longer with survival. This would probably take you several hours with survival, just because of how irritating it is. Oh, survival. You drive me crazy. But on creative, I mean, you can get this house knocked out pretty quickly. 20 minutes, 30 minutes, you're probably done. But it's a pretty nice looking house. One of you guys actually helped me. This was based on a house that I had made in one of my world tour videos. I think it was like I think it may have even been my latest world tour. I think it was like Creative World 3, the 4th tour. And one of you guys actually helped me. Originally, this house didn't have this little center part here, this little center quadrant. And one of you suggested that I kind of added it on there, and that I kind of turned this into a staircase house. So I don't know if you're watching this, person who helped me out, but I thanked you in a comment, and I thank you now for helping me figure this out, because I think it's a pretty nice looking house, and all it needed was just that nice little center part, and it kind of pulled things together. So thank you. And hopefully you guys managed to make this no problem. Hopefully you're very happy with your house. It's a pretty nice looking house. I like it a lot. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next video.